Laura Hippe was a young actress in the 1970s and early 1980s and got involved with Scientology. In fact, she got all the way up the Scientology grade chart to Operating Thetan Level 3 and also became a trained auditor, a Class 4 auditor, which is a counselor in Scientology, and audited at the Celebrity Center in Los Angeles for several years. This is her tragic story, however. We have Skip Press back, and he's going to tell the story of Laura Hippe and how basically Scientology did not help handle her problem of alcoholism and the tragic results. Skip was her boyfriend at the time, and he's going to tell this heartfelt story. We hope you find this video informative. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to our channel, Scientology Peeling the Onion. My name is Mark Fisher, and of course, I'm here with Janis Gillham Grady. G'day, Janis. How's it going? And aloha.
G'day, Mark. G'day, everyone, and aloha back to you.
Yeah,
life is good.
Yeah. We've had some really good shows lately, and we've got a returning guest here whose show's been quite popular.
We're bringing back Skip Press. He's got some great stories.
Yeah, and just so people know, Skip Press, he's an author and a writer, and he's written for various celebrity magazines, including Premier Magazine back in the day. He's written over 50 books. And, of course, he was a staff member in the early 1970s at Celebrity Center with your mother. And we've already had a few videos already with him telling stories about that time period. And without further ado, here comes Skip.
Here I am. I had to go make sure, look in my wallet, make sure I'm Skip Press, you know.
this lifetime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well,
with your name Press, I imagine when you were like writing for magazines and newspapers, if you showed your ID, it said Press, they knew you right away as somebody to let in, right?
It's kind of like that, but I have a guy, Elliot McGuckin, who's a good friend, very famous photographer, who bought my books, and then I met him one time with Andrew Breitbart, mutual friends. And Elliot thought that my books, Skip Press, he thought that was the publisher. Until he met me,
Yeah.
What a nutty name to have if you're a writer, but that's me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, and just briefly before we get started, tell people what you've written: screenplays and plays, and you authored how-to books and all sorts of things, right?
Yeah, I wrote 3 editions of the Complete Idiot's Guide to Screenwriting, and then the first edition was translated into Russian, and it's still selling in Russia. And then I wrote the Complete Idiot's Guide to Making Money with Craigslist. All kinds of things. Made money, it made money. Yeah. And then I wrote the memoir of Patti Page, who was the most famous female singer in the 1950s. Was a wonderful lady. Great writing that. It's called This Is My Song. I wrote a whole series of books about talking about dropping names, famous families. It's called Star Families. It's like Martin Sheen and then his 2 acting boys, Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen. And
was this before the Kardashians?
Oh yeah. Yeah, God. Yeah. So I've just written tons of different books and stuff. It's just I've just been a working writer, for the longest time.
Well, it's been your passion the whole time, since you were a teenager or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It's that putting Mark Twain to work. It's gotta go forward.
Yeah, my whole crazy nutty life, man. Yeah. So anyway. But I ended up with a whole bunch of good stories, which I'm going to tell you guys.
At the end of the last video, you were talking about a time period in your life. I think it was 1983 or whatever. And we're going to pick the story up from there and carry forward. So why don't you go ahead and get started?
1983, I put on a couple of plays at the Celebrity Center that got a great write-up in the LA Times, of all things, right? It was very successful for the Celebrity Center. Now, I didn't get much recognition from Celebrity Center for that. They immediately started using the stage with WOG production companies. They thought they were going to get a bunch of non-Scientologists people in and convert them all to Scientology. That didn't work out either. So I was kind of a celebrity among the Scientology celebrity crowd. Meanwhile, I'm reoriented to Los Angeles, finding the right lady, and then I think, wait a minute, I am going about this totally the wrong way because of the ethics formulas, right? Like the non-existence formula is find out what's needed and wanted and then present it, right? So it occurred to me that all these single people that were dating didn't know what was truly needed and wanted for a mate. At least that's what I decided, right? And so I made a list of all these attached women that I knew, that were almost all were married, right? And then Laura Hippe, an actress who sort of had her eye on me at the Celebrity Center a little bit, but Laura was engaged to a guy there, and there she is. She's from the Logan's Run with Michael York. So I called Laura, and Laura goes, "Oh, I'm not engaged to Brent anymore." And so I'm like, and she's like, "Let's have lunch." And so I go, oh, "Okay." And we have lunch at the Beechwood Cafe, which is just up the road from the Celebrity Center at Beechwood Cafe.
Now she's a Scientologist, right?
She's a Scientologist. She's OT3. She's a class 4 auditor, and she was quite successful teaching an aspect of acting called cold reading. Like when you go into an audition, they'll give you a piece of script and say, act like you're doing the scene. And so she trained some successful actors, right? So Laura and I get together in a biblical way, and I'm dating her, and she's pretty serious. She's like, she wants me to move in, and she's a block from Celebrity Center, right, on Bronson Avenue. And so I'm like, oh, I don't know, because I thought things were cool with Carol, and I'd given up on the whole thing. Now I was back. I was like, I don't know. And she says, well, I tell you what, I won a week in Cozumel at a fancy resort on a game show. Why don't we go take that trip and go down and stay with each other for a week and see how we like each other, right? But I thought this could be cool, but then I was going, no, I don't know. So I'm driving home from working a night shift, doing word processing in Century City. I'm stewing over this. I got my little Honda Civic I'm driving. I really like this car. And I go through a red light. I go through a yellow turning red in Hollywood on La Brea Avenue. And boom, I get hit by this big old Chevrolet, totals my car. I didn't have a seatbelt on. I go rushing forward. I put my hand up, my left hand. I break 3 bones in my left hand. My temple hits the windshield and breaks it. So this is pretty messed up. And then, so I call Laura, and she comes and picks me up, takes me to the emergency room at Cedars-Sinai. Guy looks at my hand and he says, I don't know, that's all messed up. You're probably going to have wires in it, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, well, no, man, I play guitar. And he's, well, forget that. So I'm like,
Oh man,
totally depressed. And we go out to Laura's house, and I say, oh, I'm not worried. I have insurance. Well, then I find out that my insurance that I neglected was screwy, and the bank insurance paid for the car, the final part of the loan and stuff, and I got nothing. So I got a busted hand. I can't do word processing, and I got no car now. And so so Laura says, you can move in with me. So I'm like, okay, great. So, and Laura, her mother, stroke of luck, worked for a surgeon in Orange County who looked at my hand and said, oh yeah, I can fix it. There's no problem. The guy talking other stuff, that's nuts. He fixed it and my hand healed, and it was great, And so Laura's supporting me while I heal, So this all seems pretty good, but there was an air, sort of a hint of a smell around Laura sometimes, and I couldn't figure out what it was. It wasn't sweat, it was something else, And so then one day I'm in the front room. She had a 2-story half of a house, duplex. She had one side of the duplex. And so we're downstairs, and a guy knocks on her door, and it's an auditor from the Celebrity Center. And he's there to do a security check on Laura. And I go, what the hell is this about? And she says, it's nothing. Watch this. And so she goes, and the guy puts her on the meter, and I'm standing back watching, and he's checking to see if she is drinking a lot or doing any drugs. And she goes, no. And then he goes, your needle's floating, and then he packs up and leaves. So then I go, what the hell's going on there? And she said, oh, I can influence the needle. I can make it do anything I want it to. Like, wow.
But she didn't admit to you that she was doing drugs and alcohol, just admitted she could control the meter.
That's right. And so then, but then she said, well, I had a bit of a drinking problem. And I went, oh. And so I figured out that she was just a drunk. She was a functioning alcoholic. Now, supposedly, somebody that has trained to be a class 4 auditor, gone up the bridge and
OT3.
Yeah, through OT3, the Great Wall of Fire, would not have any of these problems. Well,
that's right.
She did, and Laura had some problems, and so she started being honest with me, and she kept teaching her acting classes. One time, she had a little place in the back by the pool where she taught her cold reading classes. So Laura knew all these people in the business because she'd done a bunch of movies, and did TV shows. She was on Beretta. She was on some other stuff. But basically, her alcoholism kind of cut her career a little short, right? And the reason that she had started drinking was because to lose weight and stay thin, she would do these amphetamines, right? And the amphetamines would eat away at the muscle in her body. And it was painful. She was living in pain, right? Now, I didn't understand this all at once, but I later figured it out, right? So it got to the point, I met Laura's family, her mother, who's divorced from her father. Then her father and his girlfriend came and stayed with her like once a year. And her father gives all his girls that year a string of pearls and a handgun. and that upset Laura a lot. And so there was some strange dynamic with her and her father. And so, but then her drinking became more apparent. And I told her, you're a little erratic, and she hadn't paid her taxes for years. And so I learned all these things that she needed to do to straighten out her life. Now my hand heals. I go back to work doing word processing. So I was building up some money, and I said, if you can't quit drinking, I'm going to have to leave. Right. And she was totally upset about that. I come back home one night, again on this night shift working for this law firm in Cincinnati City, and I find Laura on the floor in her bathroom, and she was turning blue, right? So Laura had ingested something that she shouldn't have. Let's put it that way. So I call the paramedics, get her to Queen of Angels Hospital near downtown LA, and they're taking care of her. I'm in the waiting room. Her mother comes in and looks at me and goes, "She's done this before, And I said, "What do you mean? She's done this before?" She says, anytime she's got a boyfriend she really is crazy about, if he breaks up with her over the drinking, she gets pretty active about, whatever, checking out or something, So saved her life, and in the process of getting her out of the hospital, she had to, it was mandatory that she speak with a psychologist, right? So he comes and talks to us. And, the catch is with Scientology, if you ever did anything like that, then you could be ineligible for any more auditing or anything, right?
Yeah.
So,
the funny thing is, though, the fact that she ingested that poison or whatever it is she took, that also made her unqualified. So it was kind of like, both ways it was bad.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. And so, so I worked with her, talked to her, and looked like she was going to turn herself around. And then it was fluctuating, it's going up and down. So then I moved out, right? And I thought she was okay because nothing, no further thing happened and stuff, right? Right? Okay, so then Laura is having problems, and I go, okay, I'll send Bobby, the field ethics officer, over to her, right? And so he goes and visits with Laura, gets her in the Narconon program.
You're talking about Laura Hippe again, right?
Laura Hippe, yeah. Gets her in the Narconon program. So I think, okay, great, this is going to be good. Laura's finally going to get fixed. Narconon's going to fix her. Well, she's OT3 and she's class 4. They didn't fix her, but maybe Narconon will, right? So we pick up Laura when she breezes through the Narconon program in classic time, right? And she said, "Oh yeah, it was great. I learned a lot. I'm never going to drink again. Bunga, 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 bunga," right? So I think, okay, well, Bobby, you did a great thing. Oh yeah, Skip. Oh yeah. Well, I had a book that Laura had loaned me or something. So I think maybe, 2 months after the graduation of the Narconon program or something, I go over after my night shift in my little car to take the book back to Laura. And when I get there, the brown LA coroner's van is outside her house. And I'm like, oh crap. So I go inside the house. There's a policeman out there, and I say, I'm a friend, and he said, okay. So I just kind of fell apart. I didn't know what to do. I drove to where I was living, had a phone in the room, and I called my friend Rose Goss, who was Bart Simpson, Nancy Cartwright's manager, right? And Rose and I'd been tight. We'd done 2 magazines together. And I say, this is terrible. I don't know if I'm responsible, blah, blah, blah. She's, no, you're not responsible. You'll come down from it. And then a committee of evidence was held. I testified everything I knew. And the committee chairman pulls me aside outside the room, says, you had nothing to do with this, Skip. Don't let it go to your head, your brain, and make you think you did it, or you had anything that caused this. I'm like, oh, okay. But I felt, with Scientology, it's continually beaten into you that if something bad happens, you pulled it in.
Right. You're responsible.
Yeah, you're responsible for it. No matter how illogical that thought is, you're responsible.
Right. Well, you did something to pull it in.
Right. So I decide I'm going to have to do everything I can do in Scientology to fix this. Right. So what I did was get on. I was already a Dianetic auditor. So I decided I'm going to do the false purpose rundown auditing, and I'm going to do the false purpose rundown trade, auditing with a twin, and I'm going to clean up any evil in my life. Right. And after I did that, I did courses to learn more about ethics. There's a bunch of stuff that goes with that whole false purpose thing and everything. Ended up being introduced to Gary Jacobs at the AOLA and went over things with him. And so he invites me to be a substitute ethics officer at the advanced organization. Even though I was not an OT, I was just a clear. And I said, okay, I'll try it, and I did well.
Let me ask you a question back to Laura.
Yeah.
And the Narconon program, this is the early to mid 80s. Is that right? 1980s?
This was 84, about 84.
Okay. So the purification rundown would have been out by then. So was that part of the Narconon program? Like, did she do a sweat out in the sauna? Do you know what I mean? Or did they not have her do that? Or do you have any idea? Do you remember? Because that was all part of the whole getting off drugs was sweat, the sweat program in the sauna.
Yeah, I think she did one because I picked her up from the program. That lingering kind of slightly alcoholic smell that I couldn't quite put my finger on.
You mean like the vodka coming out of her pores, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's really, it's like a sort of bittersweet smell. And when people have it on their breath, they think they don't smell. You go, you've been drinking. You know what I mean? I know what you mean.
Yeah, that's what it was. So, but it was gone. So I guess, they did the program, I guess. But, remember I told you the story about her fooling the auditor, which she had done continually.
Oh, no, I know that. But I was just thinking, if she did the sweat out program, I mean, you're on there, whatever it is, how many hours a day for, a long time. And you go through withdrawal and the whole bit, I mean, that's a serious physical, that's not something you just go, oh, yeah, I'm done. I mean, like they actually, check it out and stuff physically,
Yeah, but she was in there. Let's say she was in there a month, whatever it was. It was
quickie.
Yeah, it was quickie.
Yeah,
it was quickie, right? So, Scientology fails again, right? So I dive into this. I dive into this stuff, the ethics thing, and so everybody I counseled, about just basically on ethics formulas, you did this, you're in liability, you got to do this to fix your things with a group, you're having trouble with your relationship, so that's a danger formula, here's the steps. And I've always had, real empathy for people. Yeah. And so I was effective as a volunteer ethics officer. Well, and it made me feel better that I'd been so down on myself over this whole thing with Laura and everything, that I was helping other people. It's like, oh, well, I guess maybe I'm not such a bad guy after all. So I ended up being invited to be an ethics officer at ASHO Day, right? And then I got invited to be to fill in as an ethics officer at ASHO Foundation, which was the night version, And I did this a
Right.
lot. It's like this one ethics officer. She was from Israel, originally from on ASHO Day. She was taking her 2-week leave, so I just filled in for her all day long. And then I would go to my night job doing word processing in Century City, So I ended up building up these things, these qualifications. And
Hey, Skip, were you doing both staff as well as public Scientologists, or just public Scientologists?
I was doing public,
Public, okay.
I was doing public, and I got pretty good at it, and I noticed patterns and stuff. And one day, so day, I had 3 crying women in a row sitting in front of me about their relationship, that was falling apart and everything. So I was like, oh my God,
Right. So you weren't dealing with staff members in the Sea Org who had their seniors threatening them with the RPF or whatever. You know what I mean? You were dealing with actual paying public who were like in their sessions just come up, oh, well, go see Skip and he's going to help you with your ethics cycle or whatever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So were you being paid as a non-Sea Org staff member? So you just doing this volunteer. Okay.
Not a time, So now during this time, Scientology was getting a heck of a lot of scrutiny, right?
Yeah.
And during this time, L. Ron Hubbard died. Right.
Yeah, 86. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when L. Ron Hubbard died, the LA Times was doing this whole big deal, and magazines were showing up at the Celebrity Center trying to get dirt on people and everything. And I started putting my writing career back together, right? And so this is like 1986, right? And then I was kind of hanging around the Celebrity Center. I get a call one day from Lee Purcell's husband, Gary Lowe, and he wants to do a how-to video. How-to videos were a big deal at the time, right?
They were, yeah.
Yeah. And then, VHS tapes, everybody was buying those and watching VHS tapes and stuff. So Gary wants to do, and Lee wants to do a how-to video teaching women all about guns for self-defense, like handguns and stuff. So we put together this video called A Woman's Guide to Firearms, which you can see on YouTube right now for free. And it had Jeff Lewis starring in it with Lee Purcell, and Gerald McCraney, who was not a Scientologist, was the narrator, right? Other thing. So he introduced it, and at the end came back to him. And he was a star of a detective show at the time with another guy. And so we were doing pretty good. And I think Lee's family put money into it. Gary's brother was a stockbroker in New York, put money into it. So we made this thing. We had a PR budget behind us. Lee gets written. It wins a silver medal at the New York International Film Festival, and
Wow.
and we get a full page favorable write up in People magazine. Because Lee was a well-known movie star at the time. So we're off and running, and so I'm back in business. As a writer, I ended up getting a new car, a Chevy Blazer that was real respectable. And then I was in as an actor, playing a guy behind the counter in a gun store. And so, suddenly I'm eligible to join a Screen Actors Guild, right? So my career is kind of restored, and all of the madness of the past is kind of put aside. But I made a big mistake because of how much the bridge cost, right? And I thought I could potentially make in sales, I could potentially make $500,000 for my share of the video.
Of the video?
Yeah. And I turned down a buyout from Gary Lowe's brother that would have enabled me to probably put a down payment on a house at the time, because I was like, got to get the money, got to get up the bridge. And before, I had not wanted to do the OT levels anymore after I found out about the Revolt in the Stars story, which
that we talked about.
Was the OT3 story. I was like, yeah, but now I wanted to do it. Well, I was determined I was just going to do all the OT levels, right? So I turned down this money thing, but I was off and running to do some more how-to videos. I put together one called Jan Stevenson's How to Golf. She was the most prominent LPGA, Ladies Professional Golf Association star at the time. And she was a client of Dick Zimmerman, the photographer, who was a scientist. Yeah. And Dick shot the Thriller cover for Michael Jackson.
He was a celebrity photographer, very famous.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I remember him on the Freewinds on the maiden voyage.
Yeah.
He was there.
Yeah. And so I was going to do that with Dick. And then I ended up walking away from that one because I had a clash with the producer that I took it to. I could have, we could have gotten Jan to finance it. They offered to finance it, but no, I had a better idea about how I could, and I got taken in by these Hollywood sharks. They made the video, but I ended up with some money and no credit. And then I was going to make a video with Michael Nesmith and his company Pacific Arts video. And, that's Michael Nesmith of the Monkees.
The Monkees, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Michael had a ton of money because his mother had invented liquid paper.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Whiteout, liquid paper. Yeah. His mother invented that and made a killing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was coming up with ideas, and I got the okay.
Hold on, time out. Janis, you and I lived off of whiteout, didn't we? Liquid paper over the years.
Yeah, but before computers. The old.
I mean, we used to have to type, Skip, we used to have to type everything. And when we were in the Sea Org, this is before computers, we had these little Olympia typewriters, and we learned how to type really fast. You had to be able to type, 75 words a minute, right?
80 words a minute. I had to do 80 words a minute.
I got really good at it too. And it was really funny, but thank God for whiteout or the chalk tape. That was actually even better.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Skip, go ahead.
No, it's really good. And so there are many times in my Scientology career when I had good ideas that got sabotaged by Scientologists I was dealing with, right? So I got in touch with the people who owned Morris the cat. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, is that the cat food? Yeah.
Yeah, cat food. And they had this cat on these commercials who could supposedly talk and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So I get the Morris the cat people said, yeah, we're interested in a how-to video, right? Now, if we'd pulled off that how-to video, they'd have put coupons in all of the cat food stuff, right? We would have made $1 billion. I don't know if we'd made $1 billion. We would have made a lot of money. And Michael Nesmith's company wanted to do it. wanted to produce
But hold on, what was it going to be? How to be Morris the cat? What was the how-to about the
it
cat?
it was going to be Morris the cat telling people how to take care of their cats.
Oh, okay.
You know, right? And so I bring Gary and this other guy named Richard who'd been a supposed Hollywood know-it-all, non-Scientologist, in with me to the meeting, right? And so I'd gotten in touch with, I think it was Perina that did Morris the Cat. I'd lined up Michael Nesmith's company. They were ready to make a deal. But so Gary and this other guy overruled me. I should have just dumped them right there, right? And I could have gotten the thing made by myself. And so this great plan that I had was subverted, you know, once and thrown out. And I didn't think it through. I didn't think, wait a minute, I put this all together. I don't need these characters, you know.
Why did they want to stop it?
They had a better idea. Know? They had a better idea how they could finance it and get it made, and wouldn't have to surrender 50% or whatever to Michael Nesmith's company, Pacific Arts. You know, just completely stupid. You know,
greed. It was greed, basically.
Yeah, greed. It's exactly what it was, right? And so, of course, it never happened, right? So,
50% of nothing is nothing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Oh my God. So then I kind of backed off from Scientology a little bit, you know, after this whole deal with Gary Lowe and Lee and all that sort of stuff. And Gary owed people points, percentages that had participated in the how-to, the gun video. I ran into Gerald McRaney in a grocery store, you know, sometime after that. He said, whatever happened to it? I own some points in it. I said, I don't know. And then, so all of us were supposed to get points in it. And Gary Lowe never paid us. And come to find out years later that Gary sold the video, and he and Lee got a divorce. But Gary sold the video and didn't pay anybody what he's supposed to pay. Right.
Right.
So these unethical Scientologists, both on staff and off, really kind of put me off, you know? And so I decided that I'm just going to kind of hang back. I don't know if I'm going to do anything. OT levels, I'm not so sure I want to do the OT levels anymore.
Anyway, with Skeptic, thank you again for another very entertaining and interesting episode here. And of course, now we have to talk about Janis's OUTBACK Naturals Complete Liquid Multivitamins. You can ditch the pills and drink the power. And it's peach flavored, and you shake it up, keep it in the refrigerator. You can 2 tablespoons or a little shot glass of it. Drink it down, and you don't have to take all those pills, but it's got all the daily requirements of the different vitamins you need to take, right, Janis?
That's right, Mark. Yep. And you take it every day.
Every day, and you can order it. Just go down below into our merchandise shop. Click on the link in the video description. You can order it there. She'll ship it out to you anywhere here in the United States, or you can go to Vites.com. You can see it right there, VITES. .com, or you can scan that QR code and that takes you to Vites.com. Is that correct, Janis?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Okay, good. Anyway, we want to thank Janis. I'd use it. It's a great product, and we're all getting older. And if you want an easy way to take your vitamins, that is the way to do it. The other thing I want to mention to everybody, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, rock slam that like button, hit that notification button so that way you know the next time we have a video coming up, like our next one with Skip Press. And it also helps let the YouTube algorithm know that we are popular and that people want to watch our videos so that we get lots more views. So anyway, we want to mention that. If you've got any questions or comments about what we talked about here, go down below. We read them, we answer them, and we appreciate any feedback that we get from y'all. And then finally, if you want to support our channel, you can buy us a coffee. There's a link in the video description below. Click on the link. It's just a way to send us some money and donate and help us, continue to put these videos out, because there are some expenses that are involved, and we appreciate any help from anybody.
Mark, I'd like to comment because someone wrote me and said, what kind of coffee do you like? Well, I don't drink coffee and you don't drink coffee, but what it is it's a donation setup. Buy me a coffee, you can donate. It's not a buying a real coffee.
That's correct. You can actually change it to buy me a pizza, but it's just really, it's a website where you can actually, or an application where you can actually donate money to people that we use to help pay for the expenses on the channel. So anyway.
Right.
Cool.
I don't drink coffee either. All right, Skip and Janis, is there anything else you guys would like to say before we end off this video?
I'll tell you that the next one will kind of conclude my story with you guys and end with how I got out of Scientology. But I'm telling you, it's a wing dinger when I tell you the whole story. So,
well, looking forward to it.
I have not heard it, so I'm looking forward. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Great. Until next time, everybody. Bye-bye. We'll see you next time.